Hi, I'm Edward Woods, and in my early 20s I scaled my first YouTube channel to over 100,000 subscribers as head of content at Babbel. Since then, I've scaled multiple brand channels into the many thousands of subscribers, and I'm now building a full-stack YouTube agency with my co-founder Callum. Give me the next 10 to 15 minutes and I'm going to introduce you to this guy, Daniel Priestley, and explain step by step and in a very methodical way why this YouTube video, which he used to relaunch his channel, is so bloody brilliant and contains all the ingredients you need for a successful YouTube video. Honestly, there is so much to learn from this, so stay tuned if you're serious about creating your own perfect YouTube video. And hit subscribe now if you want weekly videos to learn the pro level tactics we use to scale YouTube brand channels. So who is Daniel Priestley? So if you were paying attention to this side of the screen, you'll know he's a serial entrepreneur who's appeared more than anyone else on Diary of a CEO, and who's now doubling down on growing his YouTube presence with the help of a couple of YouTube gurus. Saf Mohammed, who helped scale Ali Abdaal's YouTube channel from 3 to 6 million subs, and Callum McIntyre, the YouTube strategist behind the agency Velocity. Now this relaunch has been insanely successful and is a masterclass to itself. Callum McIntyre spilled the beans on the numbers in this awesome LinkedIn post, which I've linked in the description below. 61,000 views on video 1, 232,000 views on video 2, 32,000 views on video 3, and 36,000 new subscribers in just 2 months. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you relaunch a channel. But today we're not talking about how to relaunch a channel, we're looking at the specific tactics that made this video so good. Actually, Callum, I reckon we should make this into a series, like call it like Anatomy of a High Performing YouTube Video or something.
I think that's a really solid idea.
Comment and let us know if you think this should become a series. Anyway, so just like Daniel, we're gonna get the overhead camera going, and I'm gonna walk you through the 5 Ps: packaging, proof, promise, payoff, and persona. Altogether, these create the blueprint for a high-performing YouTube video. And of these 5 Ps, I think the packaging is arguably the most important, because that's what earns the click and that's what earns the view. So let's get started with that. Number 1, packaging. Now you probably know this bit already, but let's just repeat it quickly before we get onto the really juicy bit. The packaging is everything the viewer sees when they land on YouTube and see the video recommended. It's the thumbnail, it's the title, it's the number of views, it's the channel name and the number of subscribers, and it's the time since it was published. Based on the combination of those things, the viewer will decide if to click or not. It's the job of a YouTube strategist like Callum McIntyre to make sure he's building the perfect combination of title and thumbnail. And how do you do that? Well, you do your research. You make sure your title follows a formula that you already know works. This is what the top creators call pre-validated content. To show you exactly what this looks like, I made a tool for you. Now, if we drop this title into the tool, it will show you all the other top performers with this title structure. And you'll see that there are a lot of them. Many of them from top creators like Charisma on Command and Alex Hormozi. In fact, this is a title formula we've written about before. It contains a lot of what makes a title really clickable. It's ultra specific, it's useful, it's urgent, and it's unique. But it does one other thing outside of these 4 U's that's also super important. It sets expectations. Now, 29 minutes is a long time, but it doesn't really sound like a long time when you consider the transactional benefit. It's a mighty high reward for a low investment of your time. The magic of this title is that it sets the viewer up to stay engaged for 29 minutes, which means that the title directly impacts the watch duration on the video. And as I'm sure you know, watch duration is pretty much the most important metric for YouTube's algorithm. If you want to try out this tool for yourself, it's completely free. Check out the link in the description. So that's the title covered, but what about the thumbnail? Now what Priestley and his team are doing really well is coupling the wording of the title with the wording of the thumbnail. Broadly speaking, the title communicates the content and its promise, and the thumbnail either reinforces this or addresses an objection. $1 million landing page? That sounds complicated. No, it's dead simple. Make $1 million? Yeah, right. No, it just works. Actually though, I prefer these thumbnails because they also foreshadow the content in the video. They set expectations and they communicate that you're going to learn something researched and structured and tangible, like a framework or a blueprint. Just to give you an idea of the kind of things that they're testing with thumbnails and the level of detail that they're going to, the original thumbnail for this video looked like this. And its replacement looked like this. Do you notice the difference? I'll give you 3 more seconds. They literally just added this arrow. So that's the packaging done. Let's move on to the proof and how Priestley builds his credibility in just 13 seconds flat. Step 2, proof. You probably noticed how I did my own Priestley imitation at the top of this video, how we're both great servants to capitalism, basically just lots of impressive numbers delivered visually and verbally. Within 13 seconds, he's answered that key question: why should we listen to him? To be honest though, your takeaway from this video shouldn't really be how to big yourself up and show yourself off. It should be how certain design elements and the format for his delivery subtly builds and reinforces his proof or his credibility. For some time now, creators have been using design patterns that transfer subconscious associations to their content. It's like Jacob's Law for creators. Just think how Alex Hormozy uses the Twitter UI design in his videos to imply that everything he says is a big, bold, quotable, retweetable statement rather than just words. And Priestley deploys similar such elements. And then there's this roadmap, which is teased within the first 30 seconds. You see it and it immediately says, I know what I'm talking about. Because anyone who's thought about something this much has to know what they're talking about. Not only that, it's also a really effective way of communicating the promise of the video, which incidentally is our step 3, the promise.
Give me the next 20-30 minutes and we're going to go step by step how to go from 0 standing start right through to 7-figure revenue in a very methodical process.
Now the primary purpose of the hook, that's the opening 30 seconds of the video, is that the viewer understands crystal clear the video's promise. That's the value you're going to get out of it, the promised land that you're going to reach by watching it. You can do this verbally and you can do it visually. And if you sequence and layer these two elements cleverly, you can reduce the time it takes to communicate the promise and strengthen that promise too. And this means it's much more likely that the viewer decides to stay with your video. In this podcast, which is really worth watching, Saf talks about this layering as a 1 + 1 = 3 moment, when the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Let's quickly listen to what he says makes a great hook.
You've brought people in, you've built the stakes, you've opened the curiosity loop, you've added the credibility, you've reinforced the retention pieces, and now we're going straight into the video.
So how do they do this in this video? There are 3 things I'd like you to pay attention to, each one a little less obvious, and the third's my favorite. Firstly, he does what's called message matching. Basically repeating almost exactly the same words as are in the title to confirm to the viewer that they're in the right place. This is why it's always so important that you've decided on the packaging before you write your script. Secondly, he addresses an objection. No experience or investment is necessary. He's keeping that viewership broad, bringing essentially everyone in who's clicked on the video, because you want as few drop-offs as possible, particularly in those first 30 seconds, in order to keep the retention metrics high. And thirdly, and this is my favorite because it's a lesser used tactic, but so powerful in maintaining attention, and that's the blurred roadmap. It might look simple, but consider the effect of this and the psychological principles at play. It sets expectations for the video, the audience knows the path ahead, it foreshadows and builds anticipation. It creates a sense of orientation and progress and achievement. It escalates the stakes as we march towards that big 1 million. And it makes us feel like we've started something. And humans are just hardwired to try and finish what they've started. And finally, it offers the potential for lots of little payoffs and dopamine kicks along the way to keep people engaged. You know, who would have thought that you could do so much with a diagram? A picture really is worth 1,000 words, especially if that picture contains 1,000 words. Now, you already heard me mention the word payoff, and that's step 4. Now, I don't want to focus on the grand payoff of this video, as we all already know that. I want to focus on the mini promise payoff cycles that Priestley builds throughout the video. Now, I could basically click in any moment of this video, and Priestley is inevitably going to be talking about some kind of framework or principle or model. He basically talks in frameworks, either his own or others that he's plucked from business books and other gurus. Each framework has a name, each framework has about 3 parts to it, and each one sets up a small promise payoff loop. Let's take a moment to remember that Daniel is just saying words, but a few important things happen when he embeds these words within these frameworks. Firstly, what he's saying basically compels curiosity because you want to finish what you've started. What he's saying sounds more credible because it has a name, and suddenly it becomes a real thing. That's why naming is so important. Also, what he's saying becomes more tangible because a framework just feels more 3-dimensional. And if it's more tangible, well, what he's saying then becomes more memorable. He's speaking in bullet points or chunks, not in prose and paragraphs. And therefore, what he's saying becomes more communicable because if you can remember it, you can tell your friends and colleagues about it. It's basically just one promise payoff cycle after another to keep you hooked to the video. And just a quick aside, you know what this reminded me of when I first saw it? those really cool RSA videos from like 15 years ago that showed how awesome the internet could be for free and engaging education. For anyone not old enough to remember those, I'll leave a link in the description, and I promise that'll be the best homework you've ever had. Anyway, on to the fifth and final step, the persona. So what is the definition of persona? It's the aspect of someone's character that is presented to or perceived by others. And I just want to say a few words about Daniel's persona in this video because it's important to remember he's consciously deciding to show a certain side of himself. And in these videos, what marks him out is a little like Simon Squibb, that he's this warm-hearted entrepreneur, which is quite different to his many appearances on shows like Diary of a CEO. This is perfectly illustrated in the outro, which I think is actually one of the most interesting lessons from this video.
So if you've enjoyed that deep dive, I've got more to come. In fact, I've got several more videos that I really think are going to explain how AI is going to impact all of this, and I really want you to tune in for those videos. Stay subscribed to this channel, leave me a comment, give this video a like if it added value to you as an entrepreneur, and make sure that we keep in touch for the videos that I've got coming up in the weeks ahead. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I hope your business is doing really well.
Now the outro sounds way less calculated than the intro, but it does three things really well. It teases and builds the stakes for the forthcoming series. It keeps the tone very warm and personable, and it gently insinuates we should be giving the video a transactional like in return for the value Daniel's provided us. Basically, I've done my bit, now it's time you did yours. So if you go through all these steps when you're planning out your next YouTube video, you'll have laid the foundations for a successful bit of content. Now though, it's time to kick back, relax, and make yourself a cup of tea and digest all of this information. If you've enjoyed this deep dive, I've got plenty more videos in the pipeline that lift the lid on the tactics the top YouTubers use to grow. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those, leave me a comment, and give this video a like if you learned something new. And let's keep in touch for the videos we've got coming up in the weeks ahead. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I hope your channel is doing really well.